let's start setting our vanilla chiffon cake. We've got the layer which we baked right here. It's nice and chilled now. We've got the vanilla patisserie cream. We've got some sugar syrup in here, and we've got some cutters. This set is brilliant because it gives me 19 different sizes, so I can just do whatever size I want up to 7-inch, from maybe like 4 inches up to 7-inch. For any size bigger than 7, I would recommend a collapsible spring, a collapsible ring, sorry, spring. There are also circles, like cut rings available on the professional range, made out of a sturdy metal, but they are more expensive, and obviously you get stuck with one size only. But with the price you pay for this professional range, you can get a set of stainless steel cutters, which are not very strong, but they are just perfect for what you need. So if I think about how big I want this cake to be like, I can just take the circles, the rings, and I just decide which size I'm going to go for, and I'll go for this, which I don't have a ruler handy. Let me just have a quick look if I can get a ruler. See exactly the size. So this is 6.5 inch. By the time it will be finished, if I'm coating, it's almost going to be a 7. The reason why I've picked a 6 and something is that I can practically make a 3-layer cake. So I've got already 2 layers on the side, and then I can go here and cut one part, and then just join this with another piece. Make the 3rd layer. So there is a possibility of actually making a 3-layer 7-inch cake if it's required. Now those leftovers would be used for a different project, which I'm going to show you when we finish. But for now, we'll just start building our cake using the 3 layers which we've got already cut. Now to build the cake, we are going to use a cake card. Now if you're planning to use this as your final board, there is no need for putting a cling film. You can start building the cake right in here. But if you want to build it in here, then transfer it into the final board, you should wrap the board with a cling film. If you don't, the cake is pretty much likely going to get stuck onto your board. But if you put cling film, then when you take your cake away, this will allow you to just peel off the cling film and just remove the cake without ruining the top. Okay, so I'm just going to build it upside down, and I'm going to set my scale to 0. I really want to know how much cream it goes in between the layers. I'm going to put the ring on, the same ring I've used for cutting. Now, if, for example, you are going to use a ganache kit frame, you can use a larger circle, like a larger ring, and then that's going to allow you to pour that ganache and just seal the cake. But for now, I'm just going to stick with something very plain. I've got some acetate paper, which I intend to use quite often to build the cakes, as I can get a straight edge without any hassle. That's going to go inside of the ring. I'm going to take my first layer of cake. That's going to go underneath. Now, if I want to scale to see how much sponge I've got and how much cream I've got in each layer, I can set the scale to 0 and obviously take some notes. That's going to be beneficial just to work out the cost of each cake. If you're planning to make cakes to sell them, then it's always good to know exactly what it goes inside. So I've got about 90 grams of sponge, and I'm going to drizzle some syrup. Again, the amount of sugar syrup. It will depend on preferences. So in my case was about 15 grams. I'm going to reset the scale to 0, and I'm going to put my patisserie cream, and I think if I put about 200 grams, that should be okay. But if you prefer to put more, this is a type of cream which people will never complain about having too much on their cake. So you can put, let's try and see how it's going to look like if you put 300 grams. Now, when you take your notes, you can say, okay, I want this cake to have 300 grams of cream in between the layers, and then you carry on with that proportion. If you want to put less cream, then you also have to adjust and then have a completely different price for that option. So just, you know, make yourself a few options if you're planning to sell those cakes. Again, reset to 0. For the second layer, there is no rule to put it upside down, or I just want to make sure it just looks nice and tidy. I'm going to put it like here. Now, if for example you think, oh, but it might not turn up like perfectly layered, what you can do is you get a smaller piece of cake card. We actually have got in our bakery some little plastic stamps which we use, but you can just get a piece of cake card and then just make sure that you flatten the surfaces so the layers turn up looking nice. Then your syrup, then you rescale, and then you know now you have to put 300 grams. Okay, and again just spread, so don't have to worry too much about how it's going to look like. It will turn up leveled when you use your little cake card to flatten. Okay, so that's 300 grams. Now I've got my last layer, which will go again upside down. Get my stamp. And put the drizzle. And my cake is now done. Now, the cake was sitting in the freezer and is now firm enough so that I can detach the ring and the acetate paper. And obviously the acetate paper can be washed and reused. I'm going to set now the cake on the board. So I'm sticking the cake with some buttercream. We'll transfer the cake onto the final board and then start coating with the buttercream. I will have to take in consideration every single element from the cake card, the cake board, or to the amount of buttercream I'm going to use to coat the cake, the glaze which I will add, and the fruits. Everything will have to go into the calculator so that I know in the end how much it cost me to produce this cake. I'm using an anti-slippering mat underneath to make sure that the cake stays sturdy onto the board, onto the turning table. And I'm going to start spreading the buttercream. I intend to add quite a lot of buttercream, a thicker layer that's going to help me to coat nicely and avoid the crumb coating, as I will do a thick layer, just one layer instead of doing the crumb coating and a clean coat. I will just do the both in one go. I will start applying a thicker layer and maintain the palette knife in contact with the cream rather than with the cake. So we'll just touch the cake with the cream, and the palette knife, it will spread that cream without touching the crumbs on the cake. Either way, the cake is firm, so the process is quite easy. All I have to remember is that this is a process which should be quite quick because the cake is chilled, and the environment, the temperature of the environment is quite high. It's like 22 degrees. The condensation will show up in a very short time, so I don't want that to happen, because if I will get some condensation on the side, the buttercream will start sliding, so it'll be very difficult to spread it on the cake. Once I will put the first coat on the cake, because the cake is cold, that first layer of buttercream will get firm very quick. It will only take a minute or two. And if I have to correct, or if I have to put more cream to block out the color, if, for example, I've got a cake with jam or with chocolate and I want to get it nicely and light in color, then adding more buttercream will not be a problem once the first coat is nicely stuck onto the cake. Now we'll just tidy up the edge of the cake as well, and then just scale to see how much buttercream I've used to coat. That's about 250 grams, so it's quite a significant amount of buttercream. Obviously the board has to be cleaned before applying the drips, because once you apply the drips it's kind of tricky to clean the board. On those type of cakes I intend not to put a ribbon around the board, but if you want to, you can add the ribbon as well. And I'm going to start preparing my ganache. What I've got here is some melted chocolate. I put like 50 grams of milk chocolate, and it was quite hot, but at this point I think it's got about 38 degrees. So I'm going to pour over this chocolate some double cream. I've got some pasteurized double cream, but just normal double cream will do. And I'm going to put about 50 grams of double cream. So proportion will be 1 to 1, but my chocolate is as a milk chocolate, so it does have fat, but not so much fat to turn the ganache in a super firm ganache. So I'm going to stir, but just with my palette knife, or with my silicone spatula. I'm not going to get my hand blender, just mix by hand. It's just a small amount, literally just the amount I need to actually coat this cake. So just incorporate, create that emulsion. Now it just seems that because the double cream was quite cold, I made the ganache actually to turn up quite viscous, so it might not be okay to spread on the cake. So what I'm going to do will be to place the ganache in the microwave for a few seconds. But before doing that, I'm just preparing my palette knife to use to spread the chocolate ganache, and my fruits, the strawberries and raspberries. I also have got some chocolate curls, which are literally just shavings which you can buy at a very good price. They're very light, so you can give a nice effect by using very little. Now I've warmed up my chocolate ganache just for 10 seconds in the microwave, and that brought the ganache to a temperature of about 34 degrees. I'm just going to spread it on the cake. My cake is still chilled. Even if I put the buttercream, it's still quite cold. It's got about 2 degrees. And that will, that temperature, low temperature, will make the ganache to actually stop running, make the chocolate to actually get firm instantly. So all I have to do is just to top up with the remaining glaze, and then add the fruits and maybe more chocolate curls. Now obviously around the board I can choose to put fruits, I can choose to put chocolates, but I think I'm going to go for chocolate just because the chocolate curls are more economical. They look nice, but they're also quite kind of they fit the budget. No, I'm not saying that they are cheap, because they're not cheap, but they are light, so obviously you don't use that much. So just putting some chocolate curls around the cake just makes the cake to kind of look complete. They're also really nice. The taste is very nice. It's like caramel curls. And then I can just have a quick look around and see which side I want to use as the front side of the cake, and then start decorating the top accordingly. Maybe just sprinkle some more chocolate curls, and then add some strawberries and raspberries. Now, those strawberries and raspberries, if they are out of season, they tend to be quite expensive. So it's something which you have to take in consideration when you work out the cost of the cake. Just about 3 strawberries will be like 50 grams. And raspberries, again, if you use 3-4 of them, they can go up to 15 to 20 grams. So something to bear in mind. Okay, so the cake looks quite nice. Definitely yummy. And obviously it has to be packed. The box is also pricey. A set of box and board ends up costing almost £5. So you cannot ignore that amount of money when you price the cake. Along with the box, you also have to remember to stick the label with what the cake contains before handling to the customer.